if we get an error, we just learn symbols, and not even simple, but variables, numbers, and strings. Okay, so I'll go through the homework today. This is what we learned last time. Last time we wrote a to-do app, and before we create a folder, and then I wrote a README file. It's like, okay, my app is going to do these things, and it's a to-do app. So if I run the Ruby file with Ruby, all right, it just lists the items I have to do. Sounds straightforward. And there will be other things like, hey, I can mark any item is done, or I can add new items to my list, or I can remove them. That sounds like a to-do app, right? After we started the README file, I started writing the first Ruby file called the to-do, and it was simpler than this, but now it's a file that takes care of very basic things. When you run Ruby to-do, it will call to-do.new, means create the app start, and then to-do.new go to initialize here. We actually load data from a file, so to-do.data, and then we just read data and store them into one list, a to-do list, and a few items. We agree on a convention the other day is that if we store all data in a file, there's we just put minus on items that we haven't done and plus on items that we have done. Then we have a to-do list. Inside this list, there's a buy milk. Have I done this buy milk task? So item and task, they're the same thing. Have I done buy milk? No. Have I bought eggs? Yes. So for now, if you finish anything, just change your plus to a minus here, right? So we learn how to write what looks complicated now, but it's really cool. Let's revisit it. Is that I read data from the to-do.data file, and every line that I read, I just convert that line into an item. Okay, and inside item, I have the name, the title of the task, and I also know if the task and item is the same thing here. If the item is done or not. Okay, so I create a list, and then this is like the parent of all the items. So by now, all of you have this code at home, and then you did some homework. What did I ask you to do in the homework? Food?
Build a method for display not done item.
Okay, to display done items.
Done item.
Great. So what we did in class was that, well, sorry about this one. Let me just delete this file. It's causing me problem displaying funny errors. So 1 second. Okay, so what we did last time is that we can do to-do.rb, and it just display the items that we need to do for today. And how does it work? We have to do, and then we say this to-do.display. We write a method that print out. Here are your to-do items for today. You see it over here, right? The welcome thing happens before you start reading the data, right? Our app basically say, hey guys, welcome to the app, and then it goes and read the data. It doesn't print anything else after it finished reading data, but you can definitely print something if you want. And then it says here are when you want to display these lines here. Here are your to-do items for today, and then you have list dot undone items, and you can print them out. We know there's a each with index. It's a loop, right? In this block, it goes through each item with an index, an order number. It starts with 0, so we do index.1. So I have 3 items. These are not done, right? Obviously, I add this extra status at the end just to make sure that it's very clear those are undone items. Okay, So you can make changes and make this prettier if you want. Is that okay? Now at homework was that, hey, what if I want to see my done items? Then my suggestion is, look, I can type this, but it only display the items I need to do. So what if I write an extra syntax to do done? And what it is that now we will display what you have finished doing. So done, how does it work? In the Ruby file, you can actually ask if there are any arguments when you call to do from the command line. So if you type done here, right, you will have agrv, here's argument, and the first one will be done. Okay, so this is a little new concept, but very quickly, let me just do this right now. I comment out everything under to do, and if I just type ruby to do.rb, what do you guys think will happen? Well, I'm not calling any display. So you just say welcome to the app and that's it, right? Okay? Now, I want to just check my arguments, right? I want to check my arguments and I want to check this RGV guy. So I'm just going to say RGV, show it to me, right? So you see that arguments in empty list. When I say to do with no, you already have Ruby word and to do word, but you don't have anything else after that. What if I do one? Ruby to do one. You get one argument. That is at index. Index, what index number?
Last.
Last or first. This is an array, right? It's an array. Yeah, so it's a first. That's why I use RG, argument value, age RGV here, 0. So what if I do 1, 2? Then I have 2 things in here. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 3 things. So if you want to write a program, you can check the different input that you add into the program based on this argv. Any question about this one? Any fun question, stupid question? Let's try. I mean, it can be anything. Look, it's a string, right? But if I say 12, it will just be one number. So the space will give
Did you write one letter and one number?
yeah, that's fine. For example, you can say to do, maybe add a thing, right? 1, 2, 3, and then it's add here and 1, 2, 3 here.
So ARGB is
A special variable.
a default method library.
Yeah, Ruby give it to you for free. Does that make sense? So it's kind of nice because remember what we say. We want to build an app where you can say this display all the done items. You can say add, right? You can say buy milk, right? And it will add. Look, if I put them in parentheses, then later I can write a program that add more tasks to it, right? For example, this will be buy roses, right? Or I will. Yeah, so for example, then you can also say remove 2, for example. It will remove the second to-do item in your list. So if you say to-do remove 2, maybe what the computer is doing, we can tell Ruby to do is go in here and find the second line and just delete. Does that make sense? All right. So you see, ARGV is it's like what Ruby gave, right? It's like a variable that you already have. It's actually a constant, right? You can't change anymore when you run the program. That's why you now know why in this homework you can do something like this. argv done, and then if done, I display, right, done items, okay? If it's not done, then you just display, the default. Default here we choose to only display to-do items, okay? These to-do items are the ones that are marked minus in the to-do.data file. These done items are the one marked plus in this file. So for example, I say in here there's one to-do item, what is it called? Maybe explain what art is, right? So notice if I click to do here, item number 4 is explain what arc V is. That is a to-do item. But I complete the item. This is plus and minus. This is one easy way. Maybe it's not the best way, but right now it's easy for us to identify. So then it's no longer there, and then you can change to, and you look at what you did, and this guy is already done over here. Do we understand the done versus normal? Okay, so maybe today we can write really cool things like maybe complete 1. What would that do? So right now it doesn't understand, so it just said to do 1, but if you say complete 1, it means it should mark this item as done. Yeah? So it means down here, maybe you say else if RGV 0 is complete, right? Then, for example, keep this as else, okay? Then in here, maybe you say dot complete, and then you need the second thing to be a number. So GV1, that's the index. For example, you may want to even make it very clear. Complete item at this index. And then I don't have this method yet, but if I define it, what it does is that it will look at this line, it will find this my milk item, it will go in there, that to-do.data, and then mark it as complete. So after you complete 1, you do to-do itself. There's only 2 items left. See, only 2 items left. And then you say done. You see that this is now completed.
So the complete, that method is not defined yet.
Not yet. So sometimes we design from outside in. We try to think what we need. I'm trying to explain the concept. Yeah. So excellent.
So at some point you still need to define that method.
Right. So today, if we understand this, then we can go ahead and define this method. So during last lecture, what we did in class was to define, I will cover this very quickly, item class and list class, and to-do class. And last time we were able to write the to-do.display. And then homework was that, hey, if I tell you that you can do write this Ruby to-do done, and then you can distinguish, right? You can tell the difference between done or not. Then for homework, you had this. Okay? So today we have even more cool, cooler stuff which we can do. Maybe mark something as complete or delete a to-do task. I don't want to keep it. Okay? Of course, we could just go into to-do.data and make changes. But it's easy to be wrong, right? Like you may somehow, you may make some changes, add some space here and there, and then, things just get out of control. This file is where you store the data, right? And I'm just explaining the simple way to store it. What if in your code you want to store an image into your to-do? the file will not look like this anymore. The file will look more complicated. So you never want to go there and change it by hand. You want to change it from your code like this. Okay? In more complicated applications, this will be your database. Right? Or sometimes your Excel file. Okay? In Excel file, you have all this Excel tab, the worksheet. So things get complicated quickly. So let's not, right now I can change the data and then explain, hey, look, if we change the data, everything will work outside. But our goal is to be able to do everything without touching the to-do.data file. Okay? Okay, so let's. I'm going to revisit the homework to explain some of the coding convention that we are doing. And here, let me pull that up. Some homework submission. You probably really want to know what you did that can be improved. Okay, so I start with Ellie submission first. So each of you submit like a folder with your files, starting with what I showed here. I did not write this method in the lecture, so you were supposed to write this. Okay, so let's look. And Victor, you knew, so I'm going to explain the item and list thing very quickly as well. All right, so let's look at Ellie's case. The the to-do.rb, as usual, we required from two other files. Required relative here means we load the file items.rb and list.rb from the same folder. We all okay with this? What's the problem with this line here? It's a style thing. It's what we call convention. Anyone? Do you do that like that? Do you do it like that? Yes or no? Are you sure? Are you sure you didn't do this? So in general, it's just a convention here. We create a name of a class. It's like a noun for that. So we don't need to use a plural form. Just use a singular form. You have a class called person. You don't define a class called people. Right? So item, it's the same thing. A list, you can put many items in there, but the items, there's only one. Right? Because we want to focus on defining the attributes of the items. So I recommend doing that, right, Ellie? And so it means down here you need to change your your file, rename it to item.rb. Okay, and now let's look at item.rb. This is something that Victor has not seen yet. So I'm going to change a little bit in your code. Most of you don't want to use the default, like this is using tab to indent. Let's all agree to use 2 spaces. Indent using spaces, choose 2. And it means 2 spaces like this. Okay, so go into, I'm going to just very quickly change all this tab into 2 spaces. Whoops. I don't know if I can do this. Don't worry if you understand this one. I'm just replacing the text. Not sure if I know how to falsely include. Where's the replacement text? Here, replace with 2 spaces. And oops. Okay, it's all replaced, and then now it's just a matter of re-indenting. Okay? So I define this. So I'm just trying to explain item, right? What do we do with item? We read each line parse each line in to-do.data and decides whether the task, the item is done or undone, right? Something like that.
Don't we create a new item for each line?
Correct. Huh? Hey, what's going on here? Yeah, I add all this extra. So look, you see all this green thing? It's this things could be try to follow the styling convention. So 2 spaces inside. Right now, no spaces in empty lines. Okay. So just try to keep it. When you keep a very clean style, it will like no spaces here. Okay. So that's why it complains in all these places. All right. Right now it complains, hey, don't worry about these ones. It asked me to use uh, it asked me to use a single quote instead of double quote, but we only learned single double so far, so don't worry about it. Okay. So the only thing left is that this, and then what else does it say here? It actually want me to have a new line at the end. So, all right. So it looks a lot cleaner, right? And in the Ruby convention, we use 2 spaces, and if you use the right Ruby extension when you download the editor, just install Ruby here. If you have the Ruby extension, everything will just work quite nicely. Make sure you make it to use 2 spaces. Any question about this file? So this file, here's the cool thing. I have not shown you this, but this let's go to Ellie's homework. Okay, where is item.rb used? It's in todo.rb, right? And it's say required relative IRB. And how is it used? You read the data from the file, and then here it create a new item instance, or sometimes you hear the word object with that line. Okay, so I'm going to go into Ellie here and I run Ruby to do, right? And then you see that it's reading this line. So Ellie keeps this line, puts reading line. So welcome to Todo App, right? Reading line. It reads buy food. It reads cook, right? It reads eat and sleep. And then by the time it's done, I have all these items. Okay. Now when you read item, notice it does one thing interestingly. Chom here means removing the new line character is at the end. So if you don't have this, you'll see something funny like this at the end of your string. So it's nice to just have chomp there. And the title of the item or the task is from the 3rd character, 0, 1, 2, until the last character. That's why you read this buy food becomes title. For done, it checks the 1st character. That's why you say line 0. If it's a minus, it's not done. If it's a plus, then it's done. So we all good there. And this is just a way to check and print out, make it easier to see. I call it status, but you can call it anything else. So if it's done, then you can print done. If not, then not done. Sometimes, do you feel like I only want to test or check if this item.rb is correct or not? I don't care about the list.rb or the to-do.rb file. Okay? Right now, to do it, you have to put it inside this to-do, and the only way to test it is that you run this to-do file, and it runs to-do.new. Inside new, it will run item. Okay? Who knows how to run only one file? Easy, right? Ruby item.rb. What happens when I do this? You see nothing because the file is perfect. It's just a class. That's it. This is the class. It's nice. I want to use it to do, no? So you could go here at the end and then say item.new my milk. Right? Right? So I can assign it to item and then I say puts item. Sorry about that. Do not disturb mode. Okay, so I can print it out here, right? Item is, okay, so maybe I can check this item here. Item dot title, and then item status is item dot status. So you can check it like that. Title. Okay, everyone eyes on the screen here. Like, does it make sense to you? And if I run Ruby item again, what do you think will happen? You get this, not done, right? Then you can test, because you can say, do one more thing, but this is now the second item. So you say, first, this is your second item. Of course, make sure you change this to first, and then you say, you change this to second. Okay, and now instead of buy milk, I will just say eat, chocolate. But I change it to plus, and so now down here you will see item title is not done, and item title is chocolate and done. Are we okay with this? If you like to see how it works with spacing, so maybe some of you like to add some extra character like this, just to make sure that I read the text correctly. So you see, I read buy milk exactly that. So for example, in your data file, so this is Ellie's data file, and if Ellie just writes some extra stuff like this, not in this data file. Whoops, in this thing here, right? If I write like extra stuff like this, it will read like that, right? So maybe your code could clean up the title. You can do that. There's a chomp here, but you could also, let's say, you can trim it, strip the spaces around it. Then it will look like, hey, all the spaces are gone. So sometimes you like to just clean up your data that way. But Ruby is just really friendly. It allows you to chain, right? Line returns a line. Line.chomp returns a line without any new line at the end. Line.strip returns stripping the line of empty spaces around it. So that's the idea, that some people like to display it with some extra characters to be sure, right? Otherwise our eyes will not be able to tell. So it looks cool, but when you do this now, and then you go back to running your todo.rb, what happens? Then you start having all this random ugly stuff. You don't want that. Okay, only one file, todo.rb, needs to worry about the input-output. Okay, so then I'm like, okay, I finished testing, so I'm gonna comment it out. Yeah, and then your program, when you submit to the teacher, and it's nice again. Okay, so one way is maybe have some of your test code at the bottom. You can comment it out when you don't use it. Do we understand this one? Do we understand why? If we don't call item.new, this code will never get run. All your puts and all this printing will not run, right? But because we just define we have the definition of the class. If we want it to run, we have to say item.new, right? Now, if we call Ruby item, it run that file, but it doesn't have the logic that we want to use it, how we want to use it. So I show you one way, which is to use it up here. Let me show you another way, and so pay attention to this one. What if do you know this? Who here has used IRB at home? Yeah, before. Interactive Ruby. So this Ruby is just Ruby, but one line at a time. So 1 is 1, 1 plus 2 is 2. You can even define an array, right? Taylor, Justin, all the best singers in the world, right? Adele, right? So that's an array, A, right? So you can say, well, maybe I can name this variable, rename it to singers. I can say check how many singers I have. Okay?
Is singers and A the same object right there?
Let's see. So they are the same. So what if you say A is here, singers here, and this is just the slightly confusing part. If you add one more singers to the group, who do you want to add? Add Sharon? I don't know. Is that the right typing?
Yeah.
So that's A, but singers. Whoops, I mistyped. It's also that. So it's just a variable. It's just a variable like A or singers. It's just pointing to an array. If you make changes to the array, it changes for both. This is different in different languages. You have questions there? Normally, yeah, so just be careful with this situation where you say, oh, I thought I just copy singers equals A, I want to copy this over. No, if you want to copy, then you actually say, hey, I want to duplicate it, right? So in some languages, maybe you have clone or dupe or copy. I think in Ruby it's copy. No, dupe, right? So singers, now Ruby is checking, this is like your identity card for the variable. So you don't have to learn this method object.d, right? But they are separate things, huh? They're not the same anymore. Okay? So now A, let's say A, remember you can pop Sharon out. So now Sharon is out of A, popping from the list. Pop means take something at the bottom. Okay?
I'm going to do pop the last.
The last one. And it's a method. But in Ruby, no need parentheses, so pop just work like that. However, your singers are still here. Okay, so you see this IRB thing is very powerful. Right? IRB is when you have no code, you just want to play and learn Ruby. So you say, I wonder what happens when I can add, numbers together, but that's not interesting. Maybe I can add all the numbers from 1 to 100 together, right? Then you can then what do? Maybe this is a range, so you can turn it into like that, right? So maybe it'll be very nice if there's a sum method and then you get everything. In Rails, there is there is a sum method on the latest Ruby, because on a range, because if you take a sum of a range, it uses the math formula for it. Don't worry about it. But hey, that's cool, right? Because now I can just treat it like a calculator, right? You don't need a 2A even. You can sum, and then IRB is really powerful just for some quick programming task. Let's try to do something else a little more interesting. Maybe you want to, generate a 1,000-letter A, and then you just type that, right? So you take a string and you multiply 1,000, right? Wouldn't it be cool if I can just say item A now? A is any variable, but let's say my task, right? Task 1 is item.new by milk. Wouldn't it be cool if my item is understood in here? Yeah? So if I do that, by now you know if I have something as capital letter, this will be uninitialized constant. So how do we define this?
Require relative.
Alright, so remember in to do, when you run it, you say require relative item. So what if I can also type require relative item here? It say true because, oh, I found the file and I can load it. So now item is known. So item dot what? New by milk, right? Obviously you just wrote this and you're like, oh, I forgot to assign it, I call it a task. Okay, so now task dot done. Do you think it's true or false? False. Task dot status, not done. And so basically now you can, instead of putting it here, you can try it in the console. Okay, so learn now IRB. Required relative would check all the files in this current folder. So you have Ali's submission here, okay? So you can do require relative item, require relative list, etc. You can even do require relative to do. And notice it will run the to-do file, okay? But you can create a new to-do, so my to-do.new, okay? So in my to-do, you can check my to-do has a list. What happens here? Undefined method is just, oh, okay, I don't have a method list in to-do. So I can define it, right? So for example, if I define this list and I have to return a list, and look, I have the list. It's just from the outside, I cannot see it. If I write this my to-do again, Ruby tell me that, hey, I have a list inside. So I just need to return list like this, right? So unfortunately, you have to reload this terminal. So I go there and I do require to do again, and then do my to do equals to do.new again. So now my to do.list, I can check it right here. It's a list object with items in it. And then you can take a look at them. Oh, each item is like this. I read in the line. These are the items. So of course you may feel like, oh, my list, I should have items in it. So I do .items in here. Then, hey, luckily in this list, she defined this item. So you can see items is one line at a time like this. Okay, this is your item. Who here can display all the item title? Quý? I want to display all the item titles. So you can do .each line, item, and then you say puts item.title. Oh, I forgot to do. Okay, let's try again. Each do item puts item.title, and so then you see these are the things that got printed out. Okay, who knows the one-line syntax? Instead of do and item like this, and then do and, you can actually put it in a curly brace, and this is a curly brace. So then you can say puts item, right? So you will see the I need to item.title. So it looks like that. Sometimes it looks hard to see. That's why people like the index function, each bit index, and then I can say puts index and then item. This is how you insert this into a string. Sorry, it's a bit hard to see, huh? Okay, so I'm using the Ruby syntax to put a variable in the string here. I will need, do .1, but here just accept the 0 index, and item.title. What else do I need to do? Close the string. Close the string here. Yeah, you can even display the status if you want. Okay. That's this is a string, right? And then I close. What is this curly braces? It's closing the entire block. Okay? Now, so that's how I print them. And one last thing, there is a much easier way. My to-do.list.items.map. You can take any item, and then you say you map a list of items into a list of name. Sometimes I do this because it's very easy to check. Okay? So I used one example here to give feedback on the homework. Watch out the spacing, right? Try to keep the code very clean, and so I'm not going to fix those. You can fix that, and all of you did this task. Display the done items. How does done items work? This is for those who did the homework, right? Again, we should do 2 spacing there, make it very easy to see there. This n that belongs to this here, and then this belongs here, right? So we say, hey, list, give me all the items that have been done, and then I'm just gonna print them. Okay? And for this done items to work, if you just have this, Ruby will say, hey, what is done items? Undefined method done items. So then in your list, make sure you have done items. Where is it? Done items. Okay? Ellie, this is wrong. Right? So what should you do? Here's how we get all the undone items. Bear with me, just 2 more minutes and we will take a break. Undone items, we take a list, a new list, let's say empty, and go into each list and say, hey, is that item done or undone? If it's undone, then add it into my new list, right? And after I finish running it with all the items, I can return the new list. Are we all clear on the undone items? If I'm lazy, I just return items, but that will include everyone, right? So I use items.each, and you can see that I can go into each one of them. .each is very common.
So temp is you declaring empty already.
Yeah, it's just a variable. I just throw it out. You can call this maybe my done items, whatever you want to call it. Okay. I don't want you to go into items and deleting, and then we may lose the data forever. So I want you to just copy it. Okay? So each do n, and then here's the variable item in each block. So can someone tell me how we can do the same thing over here? So we can do you can do the same thing here, right? If I ask you all to do that. However, let's take advantage of Ruby and make it better. Just 2 more minutes before the break. Items.each, just do something to it. At the end, okay, notice these curly braces? It's the same as do an end here, right? It's just one line. At the end of each block here, items.each, just return items. So you just run the whole line here, and then done items will just return all items. That's not what we want. You think it should be map?
I think that's what you just showed, right?
If you have 100 items, if you use map, it will still return you 100 items. If I have 100 items, or let's say if I have 10 items, 4 undone, not done yet, items, and 6 done items. Then done items here, I should only return 6. How do we do that? That's a temp thing here, it does the job. There's a shorter one, you can just call select. Okay? Select, but in each item, you only select the done item.
You only select the ones where done as true.
Yeah. When done is true, then we just select that. Okay? So obviously this whole thing you can just do, instead of writing that, you can just say, items.select item, inside this item.undone. Are we okay with this? So Ruby's focuses on clarity in your code, so you don't even have to write some extra English to explain it, if you write it well. Does line 15 make sense?
What does the undone method do?
Yeah, excellent question. So item.undone, we check undone. We're just too lazy to compare. Undone is not done. And then done is basically checking the first character of the line. Okay? So now I don't ask you to write everything to be like one line like this. There's a benefit of writing very clear code like this. If your friend come in and read, oh, temp is nothing, blah blah blah. So, however, as you learn Ruby more, you find that this is a lot easier to read. Okay, so don't be afraid when you see some new syntax like, oh, what is the select method? Okay, can someone tell me the difference between add items and items? Add means instance variable. It's a variable within this object. It's an object. It's like,
Variable within an object.
yeah. So a list is a class. When you use a list to create a list, when you use a class list to create a list, right? That's an object or an instance. Okay. So this list, this has one not new, right? So you have items, right? So you pass in all the items, you store it in add items. This is the attribute inside the list. However, because you have attribute reader, so we all learned this in class. So for Victor, you just do on a past exercise to understand this one. So it's just like define items to give out the add items, to read the add items variable. I just did that with, remember that? I did that with this. Give it to the outside world. I did that earlier, right? Def list. Instead of writing these 1, 2, 3, 4 word, I could write like this, 1, 2, 3 words. And it's one line. So people do this a lot. Okay, so done items, we have done items. So good job for those who did the homework. And then done items here does the work. That's why you can print out, right? Ruby to do, and then that's not done. And then if you type done here, it will print out. It doesn't print out anything. Do I display done? Did I save it? I need to save this file. So basically, I just fixed Ellie's bug, right? Done items, select done. Okay, done. So it goes here, read everything, display done. I'm gonna go and look at her display done. However, done items is empty for Ellie. Why is it empty? That means, not sure. We have to troubleshoot this one here.
Raise in list.
So you see, would you like me to show you how to find out why or debug this situation? If I type this done, right, I don't see this print anything. I want to see here are your to-do items for today, but I want display done to be like, here are your, right, your done items, right, good job, something like that. Okay, so if I type that and I say done here, let's see if this, your done items, good job, but there's nothing down here, right? And so I look at, why your done items, why is it not working? Your done items. Sleep, similar. Which line? Sorry.
Add list 26.
Okay. 26.
Line 26. Just 27.
Okay.
You still need to work on your style.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, great, thank you. So, but we still need to understand why is this empty, right? I can say, hey, let's print out done items. I'm gonna try to print it on this line, and you say, oh wait, it has one item here. Oh, did you see? She did not use puts, so it's a string but no puts. So now you have sleep done. Okay. So we just help Ellie with grading her homework, and it works now. Earlier it did not work because maybe you forget the list somewhere. Okay. All right. Let's take a break, and then when we get back, make sure all the computers are ready, so you guys can follow along to add the extra feature that I just said, like complete and add, make the app more interesting.